Darkness pressed in from all sides. Adaeze's wrists burned from the rope binding her to the chair, her shoulder still aching from Chinedo's attack. The warehouse was cold, damp, and smelled of rust and decay. She forced herself to breathe slowly, fighting the panic clawing at her chest. The figure stepped closer, and when the light finally hit their face, Adaeze's heart stopped. It was Amara. Chief Emeka's sister stood before her, elegant even in her cruelty, wearing an expensive wrapper and gold jewelry that caught the dim light. Her face was calm, almost serene, but her eyes burned with hatred. "Surprised?" Amara asked, tilting her head. "You thought I was just the bitter sister, didn't you? The one who resented you but couldn't do anything about it." Adaeze's voice came out hoarse. "Why? Why are you doing this?" Amara laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Why? Because you took everything from me. My brother's trust, his attention, his love. You, a street rat with nothing, waltzed into our home and made him forget his own blood." "I never asked for any of this," Adaeze said, tears stinging her eyes. "I just saved his life." "And that was your first mistake," Amara said, circling her slowly. "You should have let him die. Then Chinedu and I would have inherited everything. But no, you had to play the hero, and my foolish brother had to fall in love with you." Adaeze's breath caught. Love. Emeka had never said the words, but she'd felt it in the way he looked at her, in the way he protected her. "He'll find me," Adaeze said, lifting her chin defiantly. "He won't stop until he does." Amara's smile widened. "Oh, I'm counting on it. That's the beauty of my plan. He'll come for you, desperate and reckless. And when he does, I'll make sure he joins you in death. Then everything, his empire, his wealth, his legacy, will be mine." Before Adaeze could respond, Amara pulled out her phone and sent a message. "Your hero is on his way. Let's see if his love is worth dying for." Hours seemed to crawl by. Adaeze's mind raced, searching for a way out, but the ropes were too tight, the warehouse too isolated. She closed her eyes and prayed, to her late parents, to the ancestors, to anyone who might be listening. Then, faintly, she heard it. Footsteps. Shouting. Car engines. Emeka had come. The warehouse doors burst open, and Emeka stormed in, flanked by security guards. His face was a mask of fury and fear. "Amara, where is she?" Amara stepped into the light, still calm, still smiling. "Right here, brother. Safe. For now." Emeka's eyes found Adaeze, and relief flooded his face. "Let her go. This is between us." "Oh, but it's not," Amara said. "This is about everything you took from me, everything you gave to her." Emeka took a step forward, but Amara raised a gun, pointing it at Adaeze. The guards froze. "One more step and she dies," Amara said coldly. Emeka's hands rose slowly. "Amara, please, I'm your brother. We can fix this." "Fix this?" Amara's voice cracked, emotion finally breaking through. "You can't fix years of being invisible, Emeka, years of being second to you. You were always father's favorite, always the heir, always the important one. And when he died, you didn't even see me. You just kept building your empire, leaving me in the shadows." Tears streamed down Amara's face, but her grip on the gun didn't waver. "And then she came along, this nobody from the streets, and suddenly you cared, suddenly you had time, attention, love, for her, not for me." Adaeze's heart ached. She saw the pain in Amara's eyes, the years of neglect and resentment festering into this moment of madness. "Amara," Adaeze said softly, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry you felt invisible. I know what that's like. I lived on the streets, forgotten by everyone. I know what it feels like to be nothing." Amada's eyes flickered toward her, and for a moment the gun lowered slightly. "But hurting me won't fix your pain. It won't make your brother see you. It will just destroy you both." Silence stretched. The gun trembled in Amada's hand. Then, suddenly, a shot rang out. Adaeze screamed, but the bullet hadn't hit her. One of Emeka's guards had fired, disarming Amada. The gun clattered to the floor, and Amada collapsed, sobbing, broken by her own hatred. Emeka rushed to Adaeze, cutting the ropes and pulling her into his arms. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," she whispered, clinging to him. "I'm okay." Amada was taken into custody, still weeping, broken by her own hatred. As the guards led her away, she looked back at Emeka one last time. "I just wanted you to see me," she whispered. Emeka's face twisted with grief. "I see you now, but it's too late." The drive back to the mansion was silent. Adaeze sat beside him, her hand in his, both of them exhausted and emotionally shattered. The betrayals had cut deep. First Chinedu, now Amada. The family Emeka had trusted was gone. "I'm sorry," Adaeze finally said. "I'm sorry you lost them." Emeka shook his head. "They made their choices, and I made mine." He looked at her, eyes filled with something raw and vulnerable. "I choose you, Adaeze. I choose a life with someone who sees me, not my wealth. Someone who risked everything for a stranger. Someone who taught me what real courage looks like." Tears spilled down Adaeze's cheeks. "I don't deserve you." "You deserve everything," Emeka said, cupping her face. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that to you." Back at the mansion, the atmosphere had changed. The servants whispered less. The air felt lighter. With Chinedu and Amada gone, the poison that had infected the household was finally being purged. But Adaeze still felt uneasy. She wandered the halls at night, unable to sleep, haunted by Amada's words, "You took everything from me." One evening, Emeka found her on the terrace staring at the stars. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and sat beside her. "What are you thinking about?"
he asked. "Amara," Adaeze admitted. "She was right. In a way. I did take your attention. I disrupted everything." Emeka turned her face toward his. "You didn't take anything. You gave me something I'd lost. Hope. Trust. Love. Those aren't things you steal. They're gifts." Adaeze leaned into him, feeling safe for the first time in weeks. "What happens now?" "Now," Emeka said, "we rebuild together. I'm going to restructure my business, create opportunities for people like you, people the world overlooks, and you're going to help me." Adaeze's eyes widened. "Me? I don't know anything about business." "You know about survival, about resilience, about seeing value where others see nothing," Emeka said. "That's exactly what we need." Days turned into weeks. True to his word, Emeka launched a foundation dedicated to helping street children, homeless youth, and vulnerable women. Adaeze became the face of the initiative, sharing her story, inspiring others, showing them that their past didn't define their future. The media attention was overwhelming at first. Reporters asked invasive questions. Critics accused Emeka of using Adaeze as a publicity stunt. But slowly, the narrative shifted. People saw her authenticity, her passion, her refusal to be ashamed of where she came from. One afternoon, a young girl approached Adaeze at an event. She was dirty, thin, her eyes filled with the same hopelessness Adaeze once carried. "Is it true," she asked, "that you used to sleep on the streets?" Adaeze knelt down to her level. "Yes, it's true." "And now you live in a mansion?" Yes, Adaeze said gently. But that's not what matters. What matters is that I never stopped believing I was worth more than my circumstances. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Do you think I'm worth more? Adaeze pulled her into a hug. I know you are. If Adaeze's journey has inspired you so far, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever helped a stranger? Have you ever felt invisible? Let's talk about it. Your stories matter, and your support keeps these tales alive. Months passed. The wedding date was set. Adaeze stood in front of a mirror, wearing a traditional Igbo bridal attire. Rich fabrics, intricate beadwork, gold accents. She barely recognized herself. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. An elderly woman entered, someone Adaeze had never seen before. Who are you? Adaeze asked. The woman smiled warmly. I'm Mama Ngozi. I was your mother's friend many years ago. Adaeze's breath caught. You knew my mother? I did, Mama Ngozi said, sitting down. She would be so proud of you, child, so very proud. Tears streamed down Adaeze's face. I wish she could be here. She is, Mama Ngozi said, placing a hand over Adaeze's heart. Right here. Always. The wedding was beautiful, a blend of tradition and modernity, filled with music, dancing, and joy. Adaeze walked down the aisle, and when she reached Emeka, she saw tears in his eyes. You're beautiful, he whispered. You're everything, she whispered back. They exchanged vows, promising to honor, cherish, and support each other. And when they were pronounced husband and wife, the crowd erupted in cheers. But as Adaeze looked out at the faces, some genuinely happy, others still skeptical, she knew the journey wasn't over. There would always be challenges, always people who doubted her, always whispers. But she was ready, because she'd survived the streets, she'd survived betrayal, she'd survived everything life had thrown at her. And now, she was ready to thrive. The honeymoon was brief but beautiful, a quiet retreat far from the city, where Adaeze and Emeka could simply be together without the weight of expectations or whispers. But reality called them back, and when they returned to the mansion, a new challenge was waiting. Emeka's business partners were restless. With Chinedu and Amara gone, questions swirled about succession, control, and the future of the Okafor empire. Some saw Adaeze as a threat, an outsider who had no right to influence such powerful affairs. At the first board meeting she attended as Emeka's wife, the tension was palpable. Adaeze sat quietly beside Emeka, trying to make herself small, but every eye in the room was on her. Mrs. Okafor, one of the older board members said, his tone dripping with condescension. Do you have any experience in corporate governance? Adaeze's throat tightened. No, sir, I don't. Then perhaps you should leave the business discussions to those who understand them, he said, smiling coldly. Emeka's jaw clenched. Adaeze has more integrity and insight than half the people in this room. Her voice matters. The board member scoffed. Integrity doesn't balance budgets, Chief Okafor. Adaeze felt the sting of humiliation, but she refused to cry. Instead, she stood, her voice steady. You're right. I don't know about budgets or board meetings, but I know what it's like to have nothing. I know what people need when they're forgotten. And if this company is going to survive, it needs to remember that people, not just profits, matter. Silence fell over the room. Some faces showed surprise, others grudging respect. Emeka smiled. Well said. From that day forward, Adaeze began to carve out her own space. She didn't try to become a businesswoman overnight. Instead, she focused on what she knew: community, compassion, and connection. She worked with the foundation, visited shelters, spoke at schools, and slowly her influence grew. But not everyone was pleased. One evening, as Adaeze was leaving a charity event, a car pulled up beside her. A man she didn't recognize rolled down the window. "Mrs. Okafor," he said, "someone wants to speak with you." Adaeze's instincts screamed danger. "I'm not interested." "You should be," he said, his smile unnerving. "It's about your husband's business, things he doesn't tell you." Before Adaeze could respond, her security detail intervened and the car sped away. But the encounter left her shaken. That night, she confronted Emeka. "Are you hiding something from me?" Emeka sighed heavily. "There are things in my business, deals, partnerships, that aren't clean. I've been trying to untangle them, but it's complicated." "How complicated?"
Adaeze demanded. "Complicated enough that people would kill to keep their secrets," Emeka admitted. "I didn't want to burden you with this." Adaeze's eyes flashed. "I'm your wife. We're supposed to share burdens." Emeka pulled her close. "You're right. I'm sorry. I'll tell you everything." Over the next few days, Emeka revealed the extent of the corruption within his network. Money laundering, bribery, dangerous alliances. He'd been working with investigators to expose the guilty parties, but it was risky. If the wrong people found out, there would be consequences. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Adaeze asked. "Because I was afraid," Emeka said quietly. "Afraid you'd see me as just another corrupt businessman. Afraid you'd leave." Adaeze cupped his face. "I married you, not your mistakes, and I'm not going anywhere." Together, they strategized. Adaeze used her public platform to shine a light on the foundation's work, creating transparency that made it harder for corrupt actors to operate in the shadows. Emeka worked with law enforcement, providing evidence, cooperating fully. But the backlash was swift. Threats came, anonymous messages, vandalized property, intimidation tactics. One night, their home was broken into, and though nothing was stolen, the message was clear: back off, or else. Adaeze refused to be cowed. "If we stop now, they win, and I didn't survive the streets just to be scared off by bullies." Emeka admired her courage, but fear gnawed at him. He increased security, limited their public appearances, and urged Adaeze to stay home more often. But she resisted. "I'm not hiding," she said firmly. "I'm not going back to being invisible." The climax came during a major charity gala. Adaeze was the keynote speaker, and the event was packed with media, dignitaries, and supporters. As she took the stage, she saw Emeka in the front row, pride shining in his eyes. She began her speech, a powerful testimony of survival, resilience, and hope. The crowd was captivated, but halfway through, the lights flickered, then went out. Panic rippled through the room. Security rushed forward, and in the chaos, Adaeze felt a hand grab her arm. She tried to scream, but a cloth pressed over her mouth, and darkness swallowed her. When she woke, she was in a dimly lit room, tied to a chair once again. But this time, the face staring back at her wasn't Amara's. It was one of Emeka's business partners, a man named Mr. Obi, who'd always smiled too widely and spoken too smoothly. "Mr. Okafor," he said, shaking his head in mock disappointment, "you've become quite the problem." Adaeze's heart pounded. "What do you want?" "Your husband to stop talking to the police, to stop digging, to leave the past buried," Mr. Obi said. "You're the leverage. He'll do anything to get you back." Adaeze's mind raced. "He won't negotiate with you."
Oh, he will, Mr. Obi said confidently. Love makes people weak. But Adaeze had learned something in her time on the streets. Weakness and strength weren't opposites. Sometimes love was the strongest weapon of all. Hours later, Emeka arrived, just as Mr. Obi had predicted. But he wasn't alone. Police surrounded the building. Emeka had brought the full force of the law. "Let her go," Emeka demanded, his voice like steel. Obi laughed. "Or what? You'll arrest me? You have no proof." "I have enough," Emeka said, pulling out her recording device. "Every conversation, every threat, every bribe, it's all documented." Obi's face went pale. The police moved in, and within moments he was in handcuffs. Adaeze was freed, and Emeka pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry, I should have protected you better." "You did," Adaeze said, tears streaming. "We protected each other." The aftermath was intense. Multiple arrests were made. Emeka's business was restructured, cleaned of corruption. The media hailed him as a hero, but Emeka gave all the credit to Adaeze. "She's the one who taught me to fight for what is right. She's the heart of everything we do," she told reporters. Months passed, the threats stopped, the foundation thrived, and Adaeze found herself standing before a crowd once again, but this time not as a victim or a survivor, but as a leader. She launched her own initiative, a mentorship program for young women who'd lived on the streets just like her. She hired educators, counselors, and life coaches. She created safe houses, job training programs, and scholarships. And she never forgot where she came from. One evening, as she and Emeka sat together on the terrace, watching the sunset over the city, Adaeze reflected on how far they'd come. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked, "saving me that night?" Emeka looked at her, eyes filled with love. "Saving you? You saved me, Adaeze. You gave me a reason to believe in goodness again. You taught me that wealth isn't measured in money, but in the lives we touch." Adaeze smiled, tears glistening. "We've been through so much." "And we'll go through more," Emeka said, "but we'll do it together." As the stars began to appear, Adaeze thought of the girl she used to be, cold, hungry, invisible. And she thought of the woman she had become, strong, loved, purposeful. Her journey had been marked by pain, betrayal, and danger, but it had also been marked by courage, love, and hope. And that, she realized, was the true measure of a life well lived.
If this story touched your heart, moved you to believe in second chances, or reminded you that no matter where you start, you can rise, then we need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel right now so you never miss another powerful African folktale. Hit that like button to show your support and help this story reach more people who need hope. And drop a comment below. What was your favorite moment in Adaeze's journey? What lesson are you taking away? Your words inspire us to keep telling these stories. Thank you for watching, for believing, and for being part of this incredible community. Until the next tale, stay brave, stay kind, and never forget, your story is worth telling.